Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your monthly reading. This is for the month of November, and it's always great to see you. I hope that this month has kicked off to a great start for everybody. And as you know, we're in a retrograde period, so what I'd like to do for each and every sign is break down some of what that means for you, what you need to be keeping an eye out for, and also how it could be a benefit. I feel like that's something that isn't covered enough here on YouTube or online, so I'm going to do a little bit of both for you. So let's demystify all of this. When we talk about Mercury, we're talking about the planet, the one that is closest to the sun. And what happens during a retrograde is if you look up into the night sky, Mercury appears to be traveling in a reverse trajectory of what it normally would in the night sky. This is an optical illusion, and it takes place for a few weeks. During this period of time, that's what we call Mercury retrograde. So it's an illusion, and therefore, because Mercury, like the god Mercury, rules communication, our communication's off a little bit. Sometimes you think you're saying something, but the other person perceives it differently. So tone, intent, context, these things can get lost in communication, which is why it's essential to have other people listen to whatever it is you're going to verbally say. So if you have a public speech, you want to definitely test that out on a smaller audience and make sure that it's received well. If you're doing anything visually, some sort of an illustration, animation, putting things together in a package, you want to make sure that people are understanding, again, the sort of visual cues that you're trying to convey. And if you have a combination of the two, you also want to just be careful that the marriage of visuals and audio and music, all of that stuff makes sense, because things can just get lost in translation. That gets extended to other things such as contracts, because what is a contract but a written document? So if you have to sign a contract during this period, you want a very good lawyer to explain everything to you. You can take a look at the almanac to see the exact time and date, but I think it's sometime between the 20th and 21st that Mercury goes direct. Anytime after that, it's much easier to deal with contract negotiations, with public speaking, and some of the other things that I'm going to cover in a minute. But between now and then, just be careful. Sometimes you have to move forward anyway, and that's part of my message, is that you can't feel beholden to this planet. You have to just sort of work with some of the constraints it's going to put on us, but life goes on, right? In addition to communication and contracts, technology tends to be a little bit trickier during this period. So computers are more prone to crash. You might have a cell phone where it's constantly dropping the connection on a call. Automobiles and other modes of transportation also become less predictable. So you might have a flat tire, you might have a battery issue pop up. Other electronics, such as if you have a fire alarm, that can go off. Televisions may be acting up, remotes may not function the way they should. There's just weird blips that happen with technology, and it's exacerbated a little bit during this period. In addition to that, I would say that because we're looking at communication, contracts, reservations, and now all this technology, it's not a surprise that travel takes a hit as well, because it's relying on all of these things. So plan for delays. Maybe your plane gets redirected, or there's a layover. If you're driving, again, maybe the GPS isn't working. Whatever happens to go wrong, just kind of roll with the punches. And I would advise certain things like making sure that you have good traveler's insurance. If you're driving, make sure you have AAA or some equivalent of roadside assistance, and always make sure your cell phone is charged and you have like a backup battery or one of those extra chargers that you can plug it into, like a case that charges it or something like that. Just plan for the unexpected, and that extra level of preparedness is going to make it easier when and if these little inconveniences come through, okay? We can't stop life during retrograde, but we can be a little bit more prepared, and we can try not to take it so personally when some of these things are going on. I think that's the key takeaway. All right, so enough about some of the difficulties. Let's talk about some of the blessings during a retrograde. One of the things that I think most of you will be most interested in is that intuition is heightened during this period, particularly what you dream or what you kind of see in your visions and meditations. A lot of times, things that are otherwise hidden will come to your mind's eye during this period. So if somebody in your life is in pain, in need, or is upset with you, that will come through. If there's a message that you need to know about something going on in your life, that will also come through. Mostly because retrograde is a time to fix things that are cyclically kind of happening to you or might be a little bit broken down. So you will have a chance to basically release things that no longer suit you. So if there's something that you've been putting off, whether it has to do with business, your health, or a relationship, retrograde has a way of pushing that right in front of you and saying, guess what? You need to, on a soul level, resolve this so that you can move on to the next thing. This is blocking you. So I'm going to put it in front of you and you're going to deal with it one way, shape, or form. In addition to this, there's a really nice blessing, and it can kind of work in conjunction with what just happened, which is you get second chances. So if you've failed at something in the past, try it again during retrograde, because you may have sort of learned from that past experience, but also have better luck during this period. Retrograde is a time to kind of do anything that starts with RE. So things like revising, reviewing, revisiting, perfect. Anything that's already started but needs to be finished, you're pretty safe during this period. If you're a writer, this is a good time to go back and edit something. If you're thinking of making some sort of a big change in your life, what you can do is research during this period. Digging into things that already exist and making plans for the future is fine. Just don't hit the button to make everything happen until the end of the month, or better yet, like December 1st is going to be awesome. So this is a month to finish, to review, to research, and to really set yourself up for success in the months to come. The final thing that I'd like to talk about, and it really is a nice blessing, is that you get second chances. If there's anything you failed at before, try it again this month. You may have greater success, not only because you've learned, but energetically you're a little less attached to it. You've already gone through that process of realizing it may not happen, and the detachment that you have in some ways actually helps kind of bring it closer to you. So now hopefully that gives you a bigger view of what you want to avoid and what you want to embrace. Again, embracing second chances, heightened intuition, and the ability to resolve old situations that have either been pushed to the side or that you really have been kind of carrying around with you. It's that revelation and release that really is the blessing in disguise of retrograde. Sometimes we focus too much on some of those other things, which, by the way, are sometimes mechanisms to allow for what we just talked about. It all works together. Trust in the universe and try not to get too upset about retrograde. You should be fine. All right, before I get too much deeper into the forecast and talking about energy and everything, I feel like I need to introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. For those of you that are return viewers, I just want to say thank you so much, not only for your support, but continuing to work on yourself. That's why I show up, and I appreciate you. If you're brand new, I also appreciate you, and I'd like to welcome you to this channel. Each and every month, this is how I organize my readings. I like to start off with some channeled information. That's when I work with my guides and higher self, and I bring through whatever I hear, feel, or see during that period of the reading. The next thing that I do is I will take the cards and I'll pull a full Celtic cross to look at all of the blessings, any of the blocks that are coming through, and really help get everybody prepared for all of that. And then I extend the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, making sure that we hit on each of those key elements that I know all of you appreciate. So as you can see, this is really comprehensive. And by the way, it can be used for your sun, rising, and moon sign. You can also use it on behalf of someone that you care about in your life. And if you don't happen to know sun, rising, and moon, then just stick with your birth sign, and that's going to give you all that you need. If you like what you see here, and I certainly hope you do, please stick around until the end. In addition to giving a concise overview of everything that we've talked about, I'll also let you know how you can give back and support the channel. Small things like liking and subscribing, sharing what you see here, joining me on social media, they all make a big impact, as does booking an appointment or even becoming a patron. I'll get into all of the specifics of how that functions and how it helps at the end, but right here and right now, I would like to get into the channel messages for November, so let's do that. This month, as I selected a deck of cards and I began to meditate on your sign, the first thing that came through was an acknowledgement that for some of you, this has been a difficult period, that there's been a lot of energy that's been shifting around. For some of you, this could mean a change of jobs. It could also mean a change in relationships. And it just feels like you've been putting a lot of energy into being practical and worrying about other people, which, by the way, is commendable. It's good to be doing these things. But what I was picking up on was a need for jubilance, celebration, levity, something that could bring your energy into a higher frequency. We all know that it's really cathartic to do something like cry. Exercise is another form of release because you're literally sweating, breathing, and moving all of that energy out of your body. This month, I would love for you to celebrate something. Love and laughter are excellent ways to release. And when you open up your heart chakra, when you also open up that throat chakra, it's going to help with Mercury retrograde this month, because you're going to be speaking from the heart. You're going to be having more compassion. You're going to be more in tuned. And because even when you're laughing, you're opening and exercising that chakra, your communication is going to benefit from that as well. So not only is this good for your mind, body, and spirit, but it's also good for the first 20 to 21 days of this month when you're really going to need it to kind of counteract retrograde. And I think with all the sort of serious energy that's going on in the world, having something that is joyous is really important. So find a way to love, to laugh, and to live your life on your terms and in a way that makes you happy this month. It's going to benefit not just you, but everyone around you, okay? Let's go ahead now and take a look at the cards and see what additional insights they have to yield. I'm going to remain quiet at this point, but I'll join you after everything's laid out, so stick around. In your catalyst position this month, we have the word assistance. Beautiful energy here that I would associate with the throat chakra as well. And what we're seeing with the reversal of the assistance card is that it feels like some of you are hesitating on either asking for help or feeling like you have the support around you. This card is really telling you a couple of things. First of all, be more vocal. If there's something going on and you're worried about it, ask for help. If you think someone needs help, check in on them. But it's really about using your communication skills this month to get the assistance, the support that you need or someone else needs. For those of you that own your own business, this could also indicate that you're ready now to grow, that it's time to get an assistant, it's time to have new people in your group so that you can delegate. If you're in a regular job, this is also about delegation and making sure that the division of labor is equal. And if someone isn't doing their part, you have to kind of call that out during the retrograde period in the hopes of changing it and fixing it, because as I said earlier, that's what retrograde is all about. On a different note, if you would like to enhance your communication, you can actually wear this color. Especially if you have any jewelry and you could wear it right here around the throat chakra, that would be ideal. You could even wear earrings or anything, rings, that's fine. This color is really great for communication, and it reminds you and also enhances your ability to speak better. The other thing is when you wear it on your clothing, other people are going to see that energy and resonate more with the words. It kind of amplifies everything that you're saying and doing. So great month to wear the color of the throat chakra, which is this. And you can see there's a little bit of variation there, whether it's sky blue, lapis lazuli, turquoise, even a little bit of aquamarine. All of these colors are really great. The aquamarine is nice because it's taking a little bit of the heart chakra plus the throat, so you can play around with that a little bit too. All right, let's go to the center of the spread here. So our first card is the Five of Pentacles. The message that came through when I looked at this, came from my guides, was that you need to love yourself. And I think that for some of you, there was something that happened from a parent, an aunt, an older brother or sister, someone as a child who should have been looking out for you, who should have been supporting you and really encouraging you. They did something that kind of stuck in your emotional DNA. And what I want to do this month is kind of like click Control Alt Delete and get that out so that you can start to reprogram yourself with this thought. I am equal than or greater to that person and anyone else in my life that I looked up to and held to a high esteem. And if they couldn't see the value in me, then I no longer need to weigh what they said with any sort of value. I am good, I am working on myself, and I'm living in that frequency of self-love so that I can find other people who love themselves and love others and kind of foster that energy of unconditional love. Someone in your life kind of loved you with conditions, with strings attached, and may have said things like, why can't you be better than this person? And, if you really loved me, you would do this. And kind of made these unfair comparisons and made you they used love as a weapon instead of as a motivator. And so love should be always kind of outflowing and present, and you shouldn't expect something in return. So if someone weaponized love in the past or worked at your self-esteem in a way that made you feel like you had to do certain things or they wouldn't love you, no more. This month, you're going to look at that relationship and understand that you are far more than they could ever appreciate. It's almost as if your emotional and heart IQ surpassed their capacity to see and understand you. So just love yourself, okay? And right on top of this, we have the sort of father figure in the same suit, which is the King of Pentacles. And this is showing me that for many of you, you've been such an amazing sort of mentor to people in your life. This is about building a beautiful hearth and home. It's about giving unconditionally, especially when it's in the upright or crossing position. So despite not having that sort of foundation, many of you have already overcome it. And just look at your own life and celebrate, again, going back to celebrate that fact that you were able to already break the cycle of your parents, your peers, your brothers, your sisters, and I want you to continue on that path and help others. There might be a little bit of service that you can do as a part of this as well. Five of Pentacles also has to do with your finances, showing me that many of you are either not happy with or maybe feel like you just haven't been treated fairly. And that may be very accurate, especially if it's a work situation, or for some of you, either you've been through a sickness or a spouse or a loved one went through a sickness and that took some of the money. Here's the thing though. You have a card of balance in the crowning position. You have a card of an abundance that's over crossing this. And I would say because of that crossing position, I see abundance, I see new things coming into the future. So I'm going to validate the fact that right now you may not have what you want. You may not even have all that you need, but I see more coming through in the future. And I think you can balance what you presently have until that happens. So start to love yourself more because self-worth equals net worth. Start to push away people who work in that very conditional love sort of atmosphere. And if that's your coworker or that's a family member, it's time to find a new place to work or some new people that you can spend time with because those people don't have your best interest at heart. Finally, this is a health card. This is about making sure that you're taking care of the lower extremities, that you're walking carefully because as you saw, that person is carrying a crutch. So a lot of times this can indicate a future sort of tendency to trip, to fall, or if you're like me and occasionally you have some pain in your knee, you want to pay attention to that. That's from an old injury for me, but it pops up occasionally and I have to make sure that I have my balance. So watch yourself this month. You might just have a little bit of chronic pain or a seasonal pain because the weather's changing, and just honor that and be kind to yourself, okay? As we look at the King of Pentacles on top, for some of you, this is saying find a new job. And it's on top of that sort of limited resource thing. So this is saying, yes, this exists, do something about it. And know that you're going to find it too, because that card was right on top of it, okay? Looking at deep past, we have the Sun in reverse. For many of you, this can indicate a person in your life that is very charismatic, but could be draining a little bit as well. So just separate yourself from that person if you need a break. There's nothing wrong with that. As an aspect of your own personality, it's saying you actually deserve your moment in the sun. It's okay to really be who you want to be. I feel like at certain points in your life, this could also be associated with that parental figure, by the way, but at certain points in your life, you've dimmed your light so that others can shine. Don't do that anymore. Shine brightly, and basically know that you're enhancing the world through your own light, first and foremost. People around you, if they are going to really be unconditionally loving you, they will meet your frequency. And instead of you having to shine less, allow them to shine more. you're not helping anybody by being less than. So my big encouragement this month is that I want you to see your worth, love yourself, laugh, celebrate, find that unconditional love, that prosperity, that abundance that you so deserve, and tune out people that can't help you with that, because it's your turn in the sun, okay? The sun card, by the way, can also be a child of yours. It feels like a lot of energy is going towards that person. Know that they love you. Love yourself, though, too. Remember to take care of yourself. The Nine of Cups in the recent past is actually fortuitous. It feels like there's been some punctuated highs and punctuated lows over the course of the last month. September and October, you've had highs and lows. November, I still feel like there's a lot to celebrate. Stay on the side of celebration, as we were talking about earlier, because that really is going to help you. This is also a card that's saying it's a good time to take care of your health. The Nine of Cups tends to be a little bit in one extreme or the other. So if you were thinking of starting a diet, don't go overboard. If there's we have the holiday season coming up here in North America, specifically in America for Thanksgiving. A lot of times that's just a holiday that people eat on. And I would say during that holiday, eat a little bit less, really just try to enjoy the family connection during that, and don't go to extremes. So extremes with food, with alcohol, and then anything else in your life where you have a tendency to overdo it, pull it back a little bit, because your crowning card says it's all about balance. That doesn't mean you don't get to do things that you like. That doesn't mean that you don't get to eat things that you like. Just eat in sort of moderation and do things in moderation, and everything's going to be okay. Let's look at the near future. I feel like some of you have already taken really good steps to be healthier. You might have already started eating better, or walking more, or working out a little bit more. Keep it up. That's going to be really, really important to you. And this is the kind of investment that you need to be doing to yourself this month. Basically saying, it's an easy way to practice self-love. I love myself enough to get the sleep that I need, to eat the food that I need, to basically take care of this vehicle that's going to take me through this life. Because we only get one body, and although we have a lot of different things that we can do surgically now to kind of keep it going, it's not like a car. We can't just swap certain things in and out without big repercussions. So honor your body, take care of your body, and know that you also have just been a really great support for people in your life. I do feel like karmically this will pay off in the long run. When you do this much work, either through just being a good parent, through volunteer work, or through always listening, it will pay off. But don't feel that you have to always do that for everyone all of the time. The Strength card is saying, be your own strength, ask for help, allow other people to be someone that you can lean on too, okay? You've done a great job of being this person that she's leaning on, but this is your time to actually take the other piece of strength, which is normally you'll see the woman opening the mouth of the beast. So this is a time to use your voice, to hold people accountable, and to be strong, okay? As we look in your ego this month, we have the Seven of Swords. I think some of you are already having challenges with communicating, either with coworkers, neighbors, family members, and it feels like some of what you're doing is going into a black hole with some of these people. Because this is a tricky card. It's someone who is ignoring or acting covertly or disregarding what you're saying. So if that exists within your life, be strong. That's what we're seeing here. And maybe find a different conduit to get that done. I don't necessarily think whoever that is has your best interest at heart. They're not your advocate. So you're going to not put up with this, call it out for what it is, and then find another person altogether. The older that I get, the more that I realize that some people just don't want to change, right? And it's not necessarily your job to fix or change this person, but you can find a way to work around it, and I think you'll have a satisfying outcome if you do that. When we look in the environment, we're seeing a little bit more of this. It's a different version of the seven. Instead of Seven of Swords, we have Seven of Wands. And you can see with the way that this guy is holding the wand, it's all about not being afraid to push your agenda forward. It also says that if someone is attacking you, you basically push back and say that's not acceptable either. So this is a very strong card. It goes hand in hand with strength. So this strength card shows you leaning on someone else, but the traditional strength card shows someone dominating or using their energy to show that they're a match for someone else. So I just want you to know, if someone in your life is making you feel nervous, afraid, intimidated, find that inner strength that you have, hold yourself, use your voice, and find a way and a moment to communicate what you need. And it will be heard this time, especially if you've got mind, body, spirit. I would say even that in your belly, you need that third chakra energy coming through too when you're speaking. By the way, I talked about, this is a great card for just sort of mediating or finding a happy medium. If, however, this month you have a moment where you really have to stand up for yourself, don't be afraid to wear red. It's one of the, it's the base chakra. It's going to show that you're grounded, you're secure in yourself, and you're going to push out some of that energy. You can also use orange and yellow, the color of the second and third chakras, to pull in more of that power. So usually I wear colors in the lighter or higher spectrums, but even today, you'll notice that I'm wearing a slightly lower chakra color. It can be effective if you need grounding. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm wearing a color that's a little bit closer to the earth than having a blue or a purple or an indigo color on. So what you're wearing can actually be a really effective way for you to be able to help people in your life and to also stand up for yourself when you need it. If you're ever around a really negative person, black is a good color. You can absorb that energy and then clean it later. So know that, you know, each and every color, I should do a video in the future about the different chakra colors, how they can be used effectively, and why you want to wear certain ones during certain times. But might be a good thing for you to research in the interim. This month, I feel like this color will be great for you, and at certain times, you can use those lower chakra colors of red, orange, and yellow as well. Okay. Looking at hopes, fears, and opportunities, we have Temperance in reverse. Temperance is about not going to extremes, but the reversal of this is actually saying that this is a time for you to take some risks. You can get out of that easy zone and start to try new things. Your psychic development, when we look at the outcome, by the way, is really growing this month. Not just because of retrograde, but I feel some of you have really been trying to home in on that and also hone the skill, and it's starting to pay off. So maybe this could be a time where you could do something like decide to get an attunement for Reiki, or learn how to read cards, or maybe if you've been practicing mediumship, that's a great thing. If you're like me and you enjoy writing, that's another way to develop your ability to channel. That's why after I meditate, I scribble down what I think about so that I can remember it, because it's a connection from the divine. It's another reason that I really like doing these as recordings, because it allows me to just sort of shut off a little bit and allow the spirit to go through me. So whether it's through the throat chakra or through the fingers as I'm writing, I find that's a great way to directly go to spirit. So find whatever your modality is, whether it's cards, speaking, or writing, or a combination of that like me, go for it. And you're going to see a lot of growth with that. One thing that I'd like to highlight with this, the card is reversed and it's saying don't second guess your intuition. Some of you might be overthinking things, and I think that's programming from your youth. You don't need to be so practical when it comes to intuition. It's that first thing that you're hearing, seeing, or feeling that matters the most, so pay attention to that, okay? Let's expand the forecast. We're going to look at health first. Health is your mind, body, and spirit. We have a message here about unconditional love. By the way, pets are all over this, so if you love dogs and animals, this is a great time to spend a little bit of your energy interacting with that. Anything in nature is good too. Just being out with the trees, with the birds, with the animals, it's going to help you. But the message here is about unconditional joy, which goes back to what I was talking about with love, with laughter, and with celebrating. So I feel like this is going to be the single most important thing to overall health and well-being. We talked at pretty decent length about the Five of Pentacles. I don't think I need to cover that again. I think what's more important this month is to find ways to infuse some happiness, some diversion, a vacation. All of these things will be very, very helpful for you, okay? Everything else was already covered, like moderation, watching your balance, watching the pain in your body, and just continuing to be diligent about whatever you've been doing with either diet or exercise. It's paying off. All right, looking now at your wealth card. It says Goddess of the Moon. The card was reversed, however, which is showing me that much like the High Priestess, I feel some of you are not listening or not utilizing some of your intuitive gifts. So when it comes to your money, when it comes to your resources, what this is telling me is if there's something that you don't like or that you're afraid of, especially during this retrograde period, you need to pay attention to that. You should not be doing new investments right now. and you shouldn't be making big purchases or expenditures during this period either. So if something is going on in that respect, be careful with it. And if you feel like you need to get some more information or some questions answered about something that's already happening with your money, be the investigator. Ask those questions. It's important right now. If you're in a job and you're not feeling fulfilled creatively, I think that really kind of explains these two cards. This is not being appreciated or utilized. This is showing all that you have to offer, yet it's not coming through. Well, this is a good time to start to research job opportunities and hopefully over the next few months get out of your current situation. Because when I look at the environment card and associate that with work, this is showing that it's competitive or that people might be a little bit pushy at that place, and it feels like you could use a different environment to thrive in, okay? As we look at love and relationships, we have Blossom, speaking of thriving. And look at how this person's actually using her passion to create something. So some of you may be artists out there, and you might be deciding that instead of being in some sort of partnership situation, you're going to take that first, second, third, fourth chakra energy and pour it into some sort of project. That's great. And I think that would be really, really good for setting you up for a successful 2020 and 2021, because we're looking at planting these seeds. You see, it'll eventually grow, but you have to get it started right now. So I see a genesis of something that over the next 24 months could be something exciting. And when it comes to love and relationships, some of you may be thinking of starting a family. This is the color here associated with your belly. And I would say, so for some of you, it's about bringing into creation a new family. It could also be about deciding how you want to connect with other people, and it might be sort of like a creative union that takes place where you're finding a partnership where you and another person might start a business. So there's a little bit of overlap there between love and money, and that happens sometimes. And I think that in the best possible sense, we're looking at this as these two cards, because this was your wealth and this is your love. So this is a divine feminine card, the moon, and both of these can be about sort of like pregnancy here, because we've got a moon card and blossom. So whether you're deciding to start a family or start a project or use your creative energy to make something that you love, it feels like there is some ownership that is coming from you that has to happen right now. And it's not enough to just have a paycheck. It's not enough just to clock in and clock out. It feels like there's a bigger thing that's happening for many of you. And by doing this, you may call in love. I'm not seeing particular people coming through. This could possibly be a Leo, but most of the energy here is really around personal growth. And because we're in a retrograde, I think that's an appropriate way to spend it. We'll look again when it comes to December and focus on relationships, but this month, heal existing ones, make room for new ones, and I think spend that time and energy on personal development, healing, and maybe projects. That's really what I see with love this month. Self-love is key though. So if your parents weren't there for you, you can be there for others, and you can also love yourself. The final card is super important, and I touched upon this a little bit when I was talking about investments and things, but and also intuition, but inner trust. You need to realize that you already know what to do. You already know what's best. That's what this card is saying. Many of you out there have already kind of achieved a level of intuition that you're not even recognizing, and inner strength that you haven't recognized, and worth, even if you don't recognize your own self-worth. You have done a great job. So I just want you to trust your skills, trust your intuition, and trust that the universe has your back. This can also be a sort of affirmation that you would have every day, thinking, I can't wait for something wonderful to happen. I said that for the previous sign, for Capricorn. For you, I think you could start the morning with, I'm ready for a celebration. I can't wait to celebrate. And you may be thinking like, celebrate what? It doesn't matter. Just put in your mind that there's going to be a big celebration, a gathering of friends, abundance in food and money. Just start to see this in your future and wait for it. Think, is today the day that I'm going to see that celebration? I'm ready for it. And then get about your day. But each day be holding this idea that there's a future celebration coming and you're just waiting to catch up to that. So that's a way you can manifest. I keep a little board here as I'm working of things that I'm working on in my head that I want to see come through. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a year, but it does work. And holding that idea of a future possibility That's how everything gets done, especially for creative people. You think of some of the technology that we use every day. Someone had to think about this originally. Oh, why don't we put this together? And it didn't exist. And, at the time it was Steve Jobs, but you could even trace this all the way back to Star Trek. They were like, one day we're going to be able to do everything in the palm of our hands. So we've seen many iterations on this, from like the Palm Pilot to the Newton to eventually like this iPhone. But someone had to dream it first, and then people caught up and thought, yeah, I like that too. So you have to dream this before it can happen. Just know that it's within your grasp. But if you don't dream it, and if you don't kind of what if and go there, then you're closing off some opportunities in your life, okay? So that is everything. Let's go ahead and review it, and then I will leave you with your closing word. Your channeled message this month was to love, to laugh, and to celebrate. I also touched upon the strength and the opportunity that you could kind of bring about by meditating on the idea of a future celebration. Your catalyst this month was a reminder of your own personal ability to communicate well, to not be afraid to do that, to not be afraid to ask for assistance, to also meditate on the idea that help is coming, that assistance is on its way. And this could, for some of you, be financial assistance, because we saw that here. And I think that many of you are better at manifesting money and wealth opportunities than you think, so start to hold that in your mind's eye. There were a lot of things to talk about with the Five of Pentacles, but to summarize briefly, self-confidence is key. It absolutely ties into net worth. So self-worth equals net worth. Realizing that your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, whoever in the past maybe said that you were less than, they really were projecting an internal fear of themselves. It was not you. So you are doing just fine. In fact, you're much closer to the King of Pentacles than what you feel here in this card. With your health, take care of your lower extremities, your knees, your legs, any sort of circulation issues that might be going on there. Be careful when you're walking, don't multitask. There's a slight risk of falling with this card, so by being more present, you can overcome that. And with any sort of financial issues, this is a confirmation that things are tight, but the Two of Pentacles says you can balance it, and the King of Pentacles says you can manifest or find better money situations. The Sun card is a reminder of all the things that you've done great in this world, and it's saying, this is your turn to shine. You've earned this opportunity. Don't dim your light. With the Nine of Cups, moderation is key. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and now what's really important is to try to embrace some of the temperance when it comes to health. The Temperance reverse sign, however, was saying in other parts of your life, it's okay to take a risk to be happier. For some of you, you have to leave where you're at, or you have to kind of cut some of these threads that are codependent. Two of Pentacles, again, watching your balance, balancing everything, just knowing that the name of the game this month is really just trying to, keep things at an even sort of tempo. I think you'll be fine. Strength card. Many of you have already started to work on your personal health and well-being. Keep it up. Remember to lean on others the way they've leaned on you. And remember that it's okay to actually stand up and talk about things that matter for you or to you, and other people are going to resonate with that. Some troubles I think some of you have had with communication are absolutely valid. It has more to do with the other individual than you may know, and I think the important thing right now is to find an alternate conduit to get things done. Stand up for yourself. It's okay. Don't be afraid to use all of the skills and all of the abilities that you have to get done what you need to get done. We talked about temperance in reverse. This is about taking a leap of faith. It also shows me that some of you are overdue for a vacation. I think that's going to help with the strength issues, with the self-esteem, with allowing your light to shine, so do that if you need to. With the High Priestess in reverse, listen to yourself. We have an inner trust card right by that, and it's upright. So trust your intuition. It won't lead you astray. Looking at health, we have unconditional joy, which goes back into that whole idea of celebration and self-care. And when we look at wealth, Goddess of the Moon. Moon, of course, being a card of revealing anything that is an illusion, talking and asking any kind of question, talking about things, and I should say asking any questions if there's something that you're afraid of, getting the clarity that you need. Many of you want to create, and I think you're taking a lot of the energy that we normally see in love and relationships into some sort of creative endeavor. That may also involve partnering with someone, but the end result looks like it's more of a work product or some sort of creative thing that you want to bring into this life. For some of you, this could also indicate the adoption of a dog or a child or pregnancy as well. There's a lot of divine masculine energy around this, so that's the only thing that I'm picking up on. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a boy. It just shows me very strong assertive energy. Finally, as I said earlier, trust yourself. I really don't think I need to say more than that because that's all this is about. It's just interesting that it's right by the High Priestess, so trust your intuition as well. So this brings your monthly reading to a close, Aquarius. I hope that you got everything that you needed from a sense of being prepared, being able to find your voice, to be strong and to be balanced, and really ultimately to embrace all the opportunities in front of you. If you ever feel like you want to talk a little bit more about something that I discussed here in this general reading, or if there's something specific going on in your life and you need more advice, feel free to reach out to me. You can click on the first card in the video or the first link below it. This will connect you to my booking site where you can check out rates and availability. So if that makes sense for you, then I look forward to talking to you soon. Otherwise, another way that you can support this channel is through becoming a patron. I mentioned earlier that everything that you see here is a direct result of other people's love, support, and contributions. So if you would like to give a one-time contribution or a continuing one, you can click on that second card, second link, and it will take you to a page on my site where you can look at a lot of different options. PayPal is one of them, Patreon, and also just clicking the join button here. But all of that is detailed on my patron page, and I just want to say thank you in advance if you're thinking of doing it, and if you've already done it, then I dedicate today's reading to you. You made everything possible, so much appreciation. Another way that you can show support is by joining me on social media. Clicking on the third card and the third link will take you to a page on my site that can basically provide all the links, so it's just one click at a time and it's super easy. Also, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do that as well. Once you've joined me on social media, if you feel inclined to share, I want to go ahead and encourage you to do that. Every time you share something on your feed, it helps me with a couple of my planetary goals, which is to create great conversations around spirituality, to give people the tools that they need to become better people, and to shine some light on this planet and hopefully help pass on the torch. That's why I show up, and I just want to say that I appreciate you. I appreciate your support in that endeavor as well. For your closing word this month, Aquarius, the important thing to remember is that it is time for you to have your moment in the sun. We saw that in the deep past, but it was reversed. I really want you to feel like you can start to celebrate your own successes, your own joys, your own sort of creations. And I think for some of you, it's important to find something that you love. It may be just being out in nature. It could be a project. It could be a partnership. This month is not so much about finding the love of your life or kind of dealing with the personal relationships. There's a lot of introspective work that can be done. Heal these elements of your life, and you're going to see an improvement with your both your self-worth and your net worth. Your intuition is going to pick up. You're going to start to trust yourself in a way that you haven't before. And this is where you can truly start to shine. And that's really what we're seeing with these two cards here. I want you to allow for basically this cultivation and this embrace of the inner light that you have. Okay? Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You have a lot of choices here on YouTube and also in life. So it's humbling and it's an honor as well. Okay? I wish you all the best between now and December. Have an amazing month. Don't worry about retrograde. You've got it under control. You watch this reading and you're going to be ready. Okay? See you soon.